Uncovering revelations through conversations, Paul makes people feel comfortable with being uncomfortable. The creator and host of AwareNow Unplugged, Paul S. Rogers taps into people's truths, providing permission to be raw and real through comically prompted but completely unscripted dialogue.
An inspiring writer and speaker, you are also an incredible host. For those who don't know about the story of how AwareNow Unplugged began, Paul, please share the story of its beginning.
Absolutely. Well, I'm going to lay this entirely at your feet for the blame side, because I was so blown away with the stories and the ambassadors and just how well they came across, that I thought, well, wouldn't it be nice if I could somehow add to that and shine a light back onto them, but do it in a slightly different way, because I really want to dig into the fun side of their personalities, the side where they reveal some really funny stories about themselves, which otherwise they may have not have shared. I approached Jack and Allié with this madness in my head, and they were very good. They they gave me some rope, which I haven't actually hung myself with, so that's kind of cool. But I wanted to make it different to some other podcasts. I wanted it to have sort of like a chat show, game show host type feel with a studio audience, so that it felt that there was sort of backwards and forwards, and then a completely random, off the cuff questions, which I have a bingo wheel, and you've got to have props, and and so it was really good, because, and Jack, I tried it out on Jack first, thank you Jack, and he came up with this wonderful quote, which I mention every single time I do it, and it really helps with the guests, is that the show is designed to take you into your comfort zone, and then actually let you, the guests, share with us stories which I've had so many people afterwards say, I never thought I'd be talking about that today. For me, that's a big success. So it's that what I was trying to get hold of. Yeah,
well, and you do it in such a beautiful way, in a way that feels so comfortable, and it's so entertaining and educational at the same time, because you learn not only about the people, but then you ask yourself those same questions, and you say, well, how would I have responded to that? And so it's just a brilliant design. You're good, Paul. You are good at crafting conversation concepts. Now, before AwareNow Unplugged, you had Release the Genie. And that is a brilliant podcast where guests become genies. I was honored to be one of them, and so enjoyed that experience. For those unfamiliar with the show, please share the concept behind Release the Genie.
Oh, I remember you as the guest genie. I remember you were awesome. There's a question which I asked, which is, what is one of your inspiring quotes? And you blew the lid off it by being able to rap. And I was like, oh. And as you said it, what I do is I actually cast the guest as the genie. And like all good genie tales, I get to have 3 wishes from my wise genies. Now, the idea came to me by my 5-year-old at the time, because we were watching Aladdin, both versions, mostly on the repeat for the 10th time. And I was like, and there was this complete raw energy when the genie comes out of the lamp, and he's bouncing all over the place. And I just thought, wouldn't it be great to sort of like capture that type of energy and actually put that into a podcast? And so far, the people I had on there, they're so inspiring. And I always feel completely humbled by the stories they tell, because it's the stories of overcoming adversity, and it's so wonderful, because they truly become the genie, and you just see them get bigger and bigger with the story. And So it was really to try and capture that magical sort of cartoonish type energy. And that was kind of the thinking behind it all.
Well, it's again, it's just done so beautiful. And just as you remember me, I remember you. I remember that moment. I don't think I'll ever forget it. So again, you're just, you're very good, Paul. You're very good. Have you always been a conversationalist? Is engaging in conversation a natural gift that you've always had, or is it a refined talent that you've worked to perfect?
I think I've always liked to talk, and that's coming back to haunt me at the moment, because now my 6-year-old always says, can I just say something? And it's like no one else. He says that all the time. Like, yeah, of course you can say it. And then he starts and then doesn't stop. But I can't get too angry because I'm thinking, okay. I think I was in a previous life a lawyer. And I think what that did is that gave me a structure and a pathway, because I had to be able to extract a client's story, their instructions, to be able to advise. So I had to be able to actually work through what was needed and then be able to explain it back to them in a very sort of understandable thing. So I think that really helped. But I love public speaking, but I really love having a good time whilst I'm public speaking. And that's kind of where all my little foibles and English eccentricities come out. And I love it, because even in my own country, I'm kind of weird. So you guys have got no hope. The Americans are like, what is going on? But I think what I really like is just being able to not be tied. Public speaking is an expression of a story, and you're the expert. I mean, people say imposters. There is nobody better qualified to tell your story than you. And once you start feeling that and leaning into that, the speaking part just kind of takes care of itself.
Mm-hmm. Wow. Yeah, no, and so true. Who better to tell your story than you? I will say though that there's a vulnerability when you're sharing your voice, which is why there are some people who are very uncomfortable with doing so. Paul, on and off camera, how is it that you are able to make people feel so safe and so seen when they speak to you?
I think you have to be vulnerable to start with. And I always have that expression of you don't know what you don't know, and you can't lead where you won't go. And so, not on purpose, I just like being what you see, and I like telling tales, and there's a way of being able to be vulnerable and joke about yourself without actually making it a moment where it's insincere. And I love laughing at my mistakes, because I think once you actually do that, we are programmed to reciprocate. Mm-hmm. So once you start saying, well, it's so much easier, and it gives them the freedom. And especially on camera, what I always see, I don't see interviews, I see a chance of collaboration with that person there, because they're bringing something, I'm bringing something, and the excitement of being able to listen and then spark off one another, that to me is every chance I get, it's a collaboration rather than anything else.
I love that. And I guess I never even thought about that a conversation could be a collaboration, and that it's not this static thing, but rather something that's enigmatic, that sort of creates itself as you go. Yeah.
And I love when you actually try and look back at things, like you think, well, how the heck did we get talking about that? And when you look, it's such a natural flow. But if you tried to script that, if you tried to bottle that, it wouldn't work. But I think the whole idea of collaborating, of being equal, and that gives people the permission or the feeling that the confidence to be able to say, actually, I'm going to go off reservation. I love it when people say I'm going off reservation. I'm like, I'm sat here with a bingo wheel, and even better with a genie over my head. I'm sat with a genie on my shoulder. You can go as far off reservation as you want. but that really, I mean, I think that helped. I think if you can laugh, they can laugh, and then I think from then on, you're on a winner.
If you can laugh, they can laugh. Let's imagine it's 5 years from now. At some point, 5 years from now, actually, it will be 5 years from now. And at that time, who is the rock star you have before you on the latest episode of AwareNow Unplugged? Who would you like to have sitting there and speaking with?
I'm going to be greedy on this one.
Okay.
Now, knowing the AwareNow Nation in its meteoric rise, and the fact that you're attracting awesome people every month, I am going to be excited to have you and Jack on the sofa to start with, because you are writing your own story whilst you're writing other people's stories. And that in itself is an inspiration of perseverance, of trusting the universe. And so the beautiful thing is each day you're writing that, and to be able to tell that and say, God, do you remember that time when, and then see how that then went. So I think that would be just amazing once it's, it's a household name, which I'm sure it already is, but even more household name. I would like to interview the Oscar-winning director, Elizabeth Blake Thomas, who in 5 years' time would have produced our movie. And so the Oscar is already there. It just needs to collect. And the amazing wish list of cast members we have playing us all, which is just, if I get to speak to them. No. That will do nicely. But other than that, I'm still going to have my own show here. Other than that, I think I'd like to talk to celebrities and non-celebrities, but people who are not being interviewed very often, but are still doing really, really good things and causes which people don't know about. But if they knew about it, they'd be like, I didn't realize. And so that type of, and I don't mind who, it's that person, because when you pick up a cause, you bring another dimension to you. And that's a dimension I'm curious about. Why and how, and how does that all fit together? And I think that's what people really like to know about. So, sorry, a long answer, but I'm going to be very busy in 5 years' time. So you better keep going.
That's right. So, so this is good.
Yeah, no pressure, but 5 years,
Oh yeah, we have, to infinity and beyond, as Buzz would say. So there we should go. So I want to, let's take a little time to unplug right now, Paul. And I want to get real personal real quick. You've had many wins in your life, and you've had many losses too. I mean, we all have. But for you, Paul, take a moment, please, and share with us what was your hardest loss, and what was your greatest win?
I'm going to start with the easy answer first, which is, my wife will say that she's my greatest win. So that's an easy one. So there you go. Yeah. So that's tick.
Yay!
Sleeping in the house tonight. Thank you. But on a serious note, quite easily the hardest loss for me has been only 4 years ago in March 2018, where I had a very, very serious traffic accident. And I didn't make it out of that. That Paul vanished and never to be found again. And I've had to learn how to walk. I've had to learn how to talk. I've had to learn things I can't do, which I still learn today, even today, and it's as painful as it was. The injuries I have are a severe TBI and a PTSD, and I'm very proud to say that I am one of the ambassadors to help champion that cause. For me, it's more personal because I live it every day. But the funny thing is that I would say the greatest loss is also the beginning of my greatest win. Because I've met, if it wasn't for what had happened, I would have never met you. I would have never met the family. I wouldn't have never have gone into this whole talking and really giving back, which is what I really want to do, and finding a purpose and a light in every situation, doesn't matter how bad. And I also have a really cool story to tell people now as well, which beforehand it was like, what do I say? Now it's like, everyone's like, really? So it's kind of, it's an answer which I think, and for most people, they will say that their worst thing actually turned out to be one of the greatest things. But being open, I think, to see opportunity and yeah, being more in touch with what really matters.
Yeah. Rather
than the stuff which we think that matter, because when you lose it, or when you lose, I lost my name, I lost everything, nothing matters. And I think that then gives people such a good insight into what other people are feeling, and I thank that for being able to give me that additional awareness of which I really had none before. So there's a lot of good. There's a whole load of bad. I'm not going to pretend, but you know, in scheme of life, I think I've played a pretty crappy hand fairly well.
I would say you've played it very well. Yeah. Thank you for sharing.
It's a difficult one, but that's part of being vulnerable. And I think, and I see it, and I, do you know what? I see it every month. I see the stories. I see Legend. I see Sage. I see Lex. I see all the other people telling their stories, and they're so brave, and their heart is so big. And I know the readers, because I'm a reader as well. I know they feel it. So it's kind of like, I feel like I've found my right place. So thank you everyone for doing, and for you being the conductress.
Well, thank you. I mean, I think when you found us, when we found you, it was really just more of a homecoming than anything else.
Yeah.
To where instantly it felt like the first thing out of my mouth should have been, welcome home.
Yeah. And that's actually as part of my article, which is this month as well, without giving away too much, but it's kind of touching on that. But you're right. It's you know, it doesn't matter how long that and people have this, they not talk to somebody for months and months. They pick the phone up and it's literally just bam. There's no, oh, what have you been up to? It's literally, hey, blah, 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 and I feel that is the same thing each month. And I joke to say to Ali that it's cheesecake time, because cheesecake is one of my favorite desserts. And I can't eat it all at once, as much as I like to. So that's how I view AwareNow magazine. And I'm like, oh my god, the newest cheesecake has arrived. I'm so pleased. Yeah, if anyone sees me referring to cheesecake, that's why.
Because it's really damn good. And you have to take your time with it. It's a lot. But time we have, and this is time well spent, this moment right now. So in addition to being the creator and host of AwareNow Unplugged, you're also in Awareness Ties, as you mentioned, official ambassador, and an AwareNow columnist with your column, Release the Genie. I'd like to end this conversation the way you begin each article in your column. So please share your favorite Release the Genie fact. You've shared a number of them, and every one of them is very interesting and intriguing and very witty. Of all of the amazing facts you've shared, what's your favorite and why?
I love songs that pose a question because I feel obliged to go and answer it. So, for example, A Genie Knows Who Let the Dogs Out has told Cher how to turn back time and knows Victoria's secret. I mean, I just, if there's a general question which people are like, I'm like, the Genie knows that answer. So, yeah, it's kind of, it's a bit like the memes you see for Chuck Norris. It's that kind of thing. But I kind of tried to put your warning on the top of the article, right? This is where we're starting. Yep. This is your warning. We've got a funny, silly thing here, so you know what to expect afterwards.
Right.
So yeah, it's fun. I just love doing it. It makes me laugh.
Mm-hmm. Well, and we love reading it every month. It's a new fact that we did not know before, and but it always leads to such beautiful content and insights, and the authenticity, integrity of everything that you share, what you write, what you record with your voice. There's a lot of things that can be read, that can be heard, but with you always, Paul, it's always felt. So for that, I just could not be more thankful to have you part of this family, and honored and proud to share everything you share with us, with the world. I want to thank you for helping all of us become a bit more aware now. Thank you.
Thank you
so much.